Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 260. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the JP8 Report. Let me get stuff going on here. Pretty crazy when you do everything all by yourself. Maybe one day I'll be rich enough to be able to hire a bunch of people to help. But until then, it's me. All right, thank y'all very much for tuning in, getting ready for the weekend. It's Friday, November 14th. Before we get started, don't forget to click that follow button. If it's the first time you've been on Rumble and you're following us, click that follow button. Then right next door, click that like button, or it looks like a thumbs up, so click that, and then please share and repost. If you wouldn't mind, I keep putting this out because I broadcast on Rumble only, but I simulcast through Facebook and X, and I want to do the same thing back on YouTube. It's been a while since I've been on there, so I've been having to physically upload to YouTube because they won't let you live stream until you've got 50 subscribers. I have 12. So if you don't mind, go to the JP8 Report 67 and then please subscribe. Okay? And you don't have to get notifications, just click subscribe so we can get the numbers up, right? So that being said, we're going to go on to the America 250 for today and tomorrow. All right, so I got three letters for America 250. The first one is for November 14th, 1775, from John Adams to Samuel Osgood. I was yesterday favored with your agreeable letter by Captain Price, for which as well as a former letter I acknowledge myself obliged to you. In such a period as this, sir, when 13 colonies I lost my train of thought. When 13 colonies unacquainted in a great measure with each other are rushing together in one mass, it would be a miracle. If such heterogeneous ingredients did not at first produce violent fermentations, these ought to be expected and prepared for by every man concerned in a conduct and our council of arms. I hope the generals will act with discernment and integrity in separating those officers who are to be discharged from the rest, but the reduction of the regiments cannot be avoided. Our province are so many more officers in other colonies in proportion to their number of men, that although the Congress excused it for the time past, in consideration of the confusion and distress of our affairs when the troops were raised, yet they will not consent that the inconvenience should continue. Now there is leisure to correct the error. I am concerned at times an account of the pay of the privates. It is thought here to be very exorbitant, and many gentlemen are under concern about the consequences. The expense of war will accumulate upon the colonies a debt like that of our enemies, and we will have no funds out of which even the interest can be paid, and our people are not used to taxes upon luxuries, much less upon the conveniencies of life. I shall always be obliged to you for information, which is, at this distance, is much wanted. You may write with utmost freedom to me the minute the minute particulars. I shall make no use of such freedoms of your disadvantage, and may improve them to be a benefit to of the people. The careful, however, of your conveyances. My respectful compliments to General Ward and all his family. I am much respect your humblest servant, John Adams. So that dealt with a volunteer army and how much expenses involved in paying a volunteer army, much like what we have today with our defense budget approaching $1 trillion a year. They didn't have an income tax back then. So they had to somehow levy taxes to get the money to pay the soldiers, right? Which was an incredible expense on the treasury of the colonies. All right, and that was John Adams to Samuel Osgood, and they came from founders.archive.gov. Okay, the next one is Fielding Lewis to General George Washington on the 14th of November, 1775. All right. Dear Sir, you will receive this letter by my son George, who accompanies your lady. The winter is so far advanced, I am fearful she will have a disagreeable journey, but I expect she will meet with every assistance she may have occasion for on the road, and should be little snow. I make no doubt of her getting to you safe and before the weather is very cold. George is very desirous of remaining with you as long as you stay with the army. This I have no objection against, provided he can have some little part that will bear his expenses. I am in hopes you will find him diligent in whatever duty you require of him. Poor Charles died 8 days since at his Uncle Sam's in Berkeley of an inflammatory fever of a short illness. Virginia is in the greatest confusion. Only one battalion of Minutemen complete, and little prospect of others being so. A convention is daily expected to regulate it. The choice of officers in several districts, I believe, has been the occasion of it, and the young gentleman not set a good example by enlisting. Spotsylvania has her men complete, Caroline not one company, and the lower counties scarce a company. Yet all are ready to serve their country. We have a small brush at Hampton, which I expect you have seen in the papers. Mr. Curtis can inform you of particulars. Woodford, and who commanded and arrived during the engagement, says that he had been acquainted with the situation of the place where he could have taken every vessel that came to Hampton. He is now we here gone to Norfolk with a sufficient force to protect the town. I expect he will drive Lord Dunmore from thence to some other of our little towns, or perhaps occasioned by destroying the gentlemen's seats on the rivers. All intercourse between Norfolk and the other parts of Virginia is forbid by the Committee of Safety. Most of the inhabitants are Tories, and give Lord Dunmore notice of every step that is taken. I hope an example will shortly be made of some of them. Newton has obliged with many others to leave Norfolk, so I fear nothing is yet done with Burrard. Mr. Lund Washington will be able to give you some account of the matter, as I forwarded a letter to him lately from Mr. Newton. There will be no meeting of the merchants this fall that I have heard of. Dr. Mercer cannot take up his bond of £400, which Mrs. Washington has left with me, nor do I find that any money is paid to anybody. I do not receive a shilling. I have never heard of your painter, those suspect that he has gone to Lord Dunmore. I do not expect he can be got as Dunmore once men. Our gun factory is now beginning, and I expect by New Year's Day to have nearly 50 men employed who will make about 12 guns complete a day, as we are informed. We are now making locks to replace those Lord Dunmore took off the guns at the magazine. We are daily expecting to hear that let's see. Our men have gotten back from Quebec. If we succeed there, I think we may command the Indians who may be serviceable to us in the present dispute would continue. I am of opinion that before the last day of March, everything will be settled to our satisfaction. Although I confess there is little appearance of an accommodation at present, yet I think they must have our grain, and without American trade, Great Britain must fall. Yet it is our business to prepare for all the worst that can happen, and the only way to make peace is to be well prepared for war. I think we shall be greatly assisted by the tradesmen in England who cannot live unless we purchase their manufactures. God send us better times, and I am, sir, your most affectionate, humble servant, Fielding Lewis. Wow, that's a pretty good letter too, right there. All right, and then the last one. This is the most important one that came, I believe, before the Declaration of Independence so far that I've read. And this comes from Founders Online, founders.archive.gov also. This is a letter from John Adams to Richard Henry Lee on the 15th of November. And you'll get what I'm saying because it reflects upon the Constitution also, which was written in 1787. All right? And this is 1775, 12 years. Dear sir, in the course of events naturally turns the thoughts of gentlemen to the subjects of legislation and jurisprudence, and it is a curious problem what form of government is the most readily and easily adopted by a colony upon a certain emergency. Nature and experience have already pointed out the solution of this problem. In the choice of conventions and committees of safety, nothing is wanting in addition to these to make a complete government but the appointment of magistrates for the due administration of justice. Taking nature and experience for my guide, I have made the following sketch, which may be varied in any one particular of infinite number of ways, so as to accommodate it to the different genius, temper, principles, and even prejudices of different people. A legislative, an executive, and a judicial power comprehend the whole of what it is meant to be understood by government. It is by balancing each of these powers against the other two that the effort in humane nature towards tyranny can alone be checked and restrained, and any degree of freedom preserved in the Constitution. A full and free representation of the people be chosen for a House of Commons. Let the House choose by ballot 12, 16, 24, or 28 persons, either members of the House or from the people at large as electors please, for a council. Let the House and Council by joint ballot choose a governor, annually, triennially, or septennially, as you will. Let the governor, council, and House each be distinct and independent branch of the legislature and have a negative on all laws. Let the lieutenant governor, secretary, treasurer, commissary, attorney general, and solicitor general be chosen annually by joint ballot of both houses. Let the governor and the 7 councilors be a quorum. Let all officers and magistrates, civil and military, be nominated and appointed by the governor, by and with the advice of and consent of the council. Let no officer be appointed but by a general council, and let notice be given to all the councilors 7 days at least before the general council. Let the judges, or at least a Supreme Court, being incapacitated by law from holding any share of the legislative or executive power, let the commissions be during good behavior, and their salaries ascertained and established by law. Let the governor have command of the army, the militia, forts, and etc. Let the colony have a seal and affix it to all commissions. In this way, a single month is sufficient without the least convulsion or even animosity toward accomplish a total revolution in a government or a colony. If it is thought to be more beneficial, a law may be made by this legislature, leaving to the people at large the privilege of choosing their governor and their councilors annually. As soon as affairs get into a more quiet course, and adopting a plan in some respects similar to this, human nature would appear in its proper glory, asserting in its own real dignity, pulling down tyrannies at a single exertion, and erecting such new fabrics as it is best calculated to promote its happiness. As you was last evening polite enough to ask me for this model, if such a trifle will be of any service to you or gratification or curiosity, here you have it from Sir, your friend and humble servant, John Adams, which became the 2nd President of the United States. He drew up a map to Richard Henry Lee of a model of our Constitution, something that 12 years later would be put down on paper and submitted for ratification. So if you were ever wondering where models and stuff came from our founding documents, that letter was something else. I might have to keep that one. Any comments for anyone about what that was just about? Let me get a drink of tea here real quick. All right, so now we got the Dalmatian Texas Burger Group, and these guys make homemade smash burgers and dogs right here in Copper's Cove. They have homemade, all their ingredients are homemade, including their buns, and they're located in Copper's Cove, Texas, over by Killeen and Fort Hood, and they're open Tuesday through Saturdays, 11 to 2, and from 5:30 to 7, unless they sell out. And to find them, you go all the way to the west side of Copper's Cove, look for Bush's Chicken on the right-hand side of the road, and you go to the back of the shopping center. All right? So that was the Dalmatian. I had one a couple days ago. I love eating their burgers. All right, so I got Let's see, push this over. I got a few things. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about today was in Chicago, a federal judge named Jeffrey Cummings. I would not doubt if this guy was an Obama judge or even a Biden judge. But he told the Department of Homeland Security they have until the 21st of November to release 600 illegal aliens from custody in the Chicago area based on a 2021 Biden decree. And today, if you haven't been looking at the news, there's a massive ICE protest in Chicago as we speak. Oh, I forgot to put it on the news. Let's see if we had any breaking news. I don't have my remote by me. We were watching Starship Troopers before I went live. So this came from FoxNews.com. A federal judge in Chicago has ordered the Department of Homeland Security to release more than 600 illegal immigrants held at a suburban detention center, blasting the agency for repeated material violations of a court-approved consent decree that limited who could be detained under U.S. immigration law. The U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings ruled that more than 600 detainees being held at Broadview ICE Center must be released on bond and into ICE's alternative in detention program called ATD by November 21st, citing he called a pattern of unlawful arrest and confinement. The order stems from Margarito Castellon Nava versus Department of Homeland Security, a class action lawsuit claiming federal agents unlawfully detained hundreds of migrants who were not subject to mandatory detention or final removal orders, a direct violation of the 2021 Biden-era decree, which was inherited by the Trump administration. So they took a court order and then changed it up and then implemented it. In the ruling, Cummings accused DHS of holding migrants in unsafe and unsanitary conditions, saying detainees had been kept in overcrowded buildings next to overflowing toilets. Those were in quotes. The judge further said the department's recent reversal on detention authority represented a 180 degree from previous legal interpretations. The decision could force the largest single-day release of ICE detainees in Illinois in years, freeing hundreds of arrested during Operation Midway Blitz, a Trump enforcement sweep that immigration activists claimed traumatized communities across the Chicago area. Today was a good day as the court ordered the immediate release of 13 people who had been wrongly arrested and detained by federal immigration authorities. Michelle Garcia of the ACLU of Illinois said more than 600 others may soon walk free as the court enforces our agreement with the federal government, a step toward accountability for years of unlawful arrest. If you're illegal, you're illegal. Whether it's civil or criminal, you're going back to your homeland. I'm sure this is being appealed. At every turn, activist judges, sanctuary politicians, and violent rioters had actively tried to prevent our law enforcement officers from arresting and removing the worst of the worst. Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs, Department of Homeland Security, now an activist judge, is putting the lives of Americans directly at risk by ordering 615 illegal aliens to be released to the community. She's absolutely correct. This needs to be immediately appealed to an appeals court or emergency hearing to the Supreme Court. You can't allow illegal aliens to freely roam our cities and towns across our country. Too much bad stuff happens. Absolutely detain them and deport them. They shouldn't even be here. We didn't let 30 million people in our country. Biden did. President Autopin. So they got a week. They had a week to make something happen. Next is Katie Wilson defeated Bruce Harrell in Seattle by 1,900 votes. So now officially you have a socialist mayor in New York and a socialist or a communist. They're both communists. On the West Coast in Seattle, and East Coast in New York City. By the way, if you're like wondering how she got to where she is, Miss Wilson is originally from New York, so it must be something about the colleges around there, because she went to SUNY Binghamton and got all of her stuff. Next is hold on, man, I'm thirsty. Sorry about that. All right. Jack Smith. Jack Smith met with Christopher Wray about January 6th. I got this from Fox News. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith met with then FBI Director Christopher Wray months after he began investigating January 6, 2021 Capitol riots in the 2020 election. Fox News Digital has learned. The Fox News Digital exclusively reviewed the document that FBI Director Kash Patel recently shared with the Senate Judiciary Committee and Chairman Chuck Grassley and Senator Ron Johnson during containing the new development. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith met with then FBI Director months after. Okay, that's a repeat on that line. Currently reviewing the documents. Where does it say? The information was included as a part of a significant case notification drafted by the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division on May 25th, 2023. Right? On May 24th, Special Counsel Jack Smith met with FBI Director Wray. The meeting took place just a day before the FBI's Criminal Investigation Division created the significant case notification document. And the FBI Special Case and Notification is an internal record used by the Bureau to alert senior leadership and FBI field offices about a case of high public interest. This notification provided a case update on Arctic frost, which we've been talking about for a while, which the Bureau considered a sensitive investigative matter. Jack Smith claims he wants to tell his story to Congress, but when I asked him point blank if he ever met with Garland, Lisa Monaco, or Christopher Wray as part of his investigation, he refused to answer. That's what Chuck Grassley said. The revelation is significant as Grassley in October sent a letter that specifically asked Smith whether he had met with Wray, then Attorney General Garrick Marlin, then Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, or then Deputy Director of the FBI Paul Abate. Smith replied to Grassley, but declined to share the information about any of his meetings with those people, those officials. Either Smith has a bad memory or is simply not willing to come clean about his actions. Senator Grassley told Fox News Digital, adding that if Smith really wanted the American people to hear the truth, he'd be cooperating with my straightforward congressional oversight request instead of making excuses. Who cares? I'm going to continue investigating to ensure the public gets full transparency. Smith in October requested to testify in open public hearings before the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. Given the many mischaracterizations of Mr. Smith's investigation into President Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents and role in attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election, Mr. Smith respectfully requests the opportunity to testify in open hearings before the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. That's what his attorneys wrote. And then it says Smith did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment. Okay, so this is basically, he went out on his own and was doing his investigation, but it looks like he was talking to Chris Wray about possibly investigating Trump and other people, which you're going to see in just a minute what blows the top off this. It sounds like there was a collusion going on. Anything to set up President Trump, right? Let me write these off. Okay, so we'll get to that other stuff in just a minute. So, if you did not know, as of the 13th, was yesterday, these are the congressmen and senators that are not running for re-election, right? You have a total of 47 people in that. So the Republicans are marked in red, the Democrats are in blue. There's 20 Democrats so far and 27 Republicans. Okay, 15 Democrats from the House are retiring, and in the Senate there's 15 in the House and 5 from the Senate that are Democrats. All of them are retirements. All right, and then in the on the Republican side, there are 22 from the House and 7 from the Senate, right? And 9 of those personnel are running for higher office. And you got people like Ralph Norman, Byron Donalds, and then let's see, Wesley Hunt, John James, Chip Roy, Elise Stefanik, Nancy Mace, Andy Briggs, Marsha Blackburn, and Tommy Tuberville. All right, those. So you have some high-profile Republicans actually running for higher office. They're not just not cut and sling load and like, I'm done, I'm gonna go fish. All right. Good luck to all of them, but it's like, wow. So technically, there's more Democrats retiring from office than Republicans, even though the number is higher for Republicans because you have so many of them running for higher office, and none of them are running against each other. So that's a good thing. Wait a minute. There is, I think, Ralph Norman, and Nancy Mace are going to be running against each other in South Carolina. All right. Remember, don't forget to click that follow button and give me a like, please. Okay. All right. So, talking about Elise Stefanik, I have here, and this came from the nationalpulse.com. A new poll was conducted by JL Partners, shows Representative Elise Stefanik trailing Governor Kathy Hochul by just 3 points. All right, 46 to 43, right? And with 11% undecided. Stefanik, who recently announced her gubernatorial campaign, has positioned herself as a strong supporter of President Donald J. Trump. She was first elected to Congress in 2014 to represent New York's 21st Congressional District and to serve the House GOP conference chair from 21 to 25. Trump nominated her to be the UN ambassador, but her nomination was later withdrawn to ensure that we had a majority, an absolute majority, to get his legislative priorities passed. All right, I added that part in. The poll also revealed Stefanik enjoys commanding lead over Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, and he's talking about getting in next week. We'll see. Bruce Blakeman only has like 5%, and he's 70 years old. Why do we keep getting old people to run for office? And stay in Nassau County, Mr. Blakeman. Let's see. Hochul's job performance received mixed reviews in the poll, with only 40% of her respondents giving her an approval, somewhat approving of her job. And then 54% strongly, somewhat disapproved. And 37% of voters view Stefanik as very or somewhat favorable. And she only has a 32% unfavorable rating. And this poll was done the 9th and 10th of November and has a margin of error of 4.4%. So they're both within the margin of error. So it looks like they found the right politician to run against Kathy Hochul, and it is Elise Stefanik. She's from Utica, if you didn't know. All right. So, and then the next one, this is the shocker. It's another one about Jack Smith. All right. So with Jack Smith, former special counsel Jack Smith reportedly requested the personal cell phone records of then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and then Representative Louis Gohmert from Texas during his probe into January 6, 2021 Capitol protests. On 25 May 2023, the FBI Criminal Investigation Division, wow, that's unbelievable. That's the day after the meeting with Christopher Wray. I'm pretty sure of it. Hold on just a second here. Sure is. Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize that until just now. So the day after his meeting with the FBI director, he requested phone records from the Speaker of the House. Wow. Okay. Something needs to be done. This is crazy. And we prepared a special case notification of outlining Smith's subpoena for toll records from AT&T and Verizon. McCarthy sharply criticized the effort, labeling it a blatant weaponization of the Justice Department. He further stated, perhaps no action underscores this point more than the illegal attempt to access phone records from sitting members of the House and the Senate, including the Speaker of the House. The Biden-Harris FBI launched the probe, codename Arctic Frost, in April 2022, aiming to obtain phone records from Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, Josh Hawley, among others. AT&T revealed that Smith's team had subpoenaed records for 2 congressional members, including McCarthy, though the company ultimately provided none following the challenges. Wow. I have a third page here. What is that from? Nope. So, you see where that's going, right? The Biden administration, or Autopin administration, wanted so bad to hem up the president, former president. They were investigating everyone, even the Speaker of the House. That's like going and getting phone records from Mike Johnson, the current Speaker. Why? And they were told they couldn't even disclose that the records were being taken and given to the FBI. Little by little, it comes out. Okay. Supreme Court said yesterday they're going to take up the cases for for the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, which is she's temporarily fired right now, pending legislation, judicial action, and her case has been appealed through the appeals court, and now has been appealed up to the United States Supreme Court. They said they will hear the case in January, and then they took up another case of men and women's sports. It's went through the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it's the equity equals. Oh man, I can't even pronounce it. Okay, it's the equality clause in the 14th Amendment. They're going to be debating on whether trans men, which are the guys that think they're women, can compete against women in sports. And it's dealing with the 14th Amendment. So they're going to take up both of those cases in January. All right? Acting U.S. Attorney Alina Habba, she's in New Jersey. She was her offices were ransacked yesterday by a person that was wielding a bat. He got away. They know who it is. But like I wrote down here, political violence has no acceptability in our society. There shouldn't be violence anyway. But yeah, this guy broke into her office and ransacked it, and had a bat at one time. So and that happened Wednesday evening, so it was like a day and a half ago. But they know who he is. They're looking for him, and hopefully they get him soon. All right. JFK Jr., Mr. Nepo Baby. He's 32 years old. He just graduated from law school, and he's going to be running for Congress, where Congressman, what's his name, Jerry Nadler, is currently a congressman, and he just announced that he's going to be retiring. The guy never had a long-term job. He just graduated from law school. He floats around doing he worked at a surf shop in Hawaii. Never had to worry about money because everything came from the Kennedy family. He went to Harvard, $80,000 a year just for law school. And he made it through debt-free with no student loans or anything. And he looks like he's one of these guys that I'm going to graduate. I have no wisdom. I have no experience. And I'm just going to go and get into college, go and get into politics and represent New York City. I look at him, he's a Nepo baby. He needs to go get a job. Let a real person represent that congressional seat. But he graduated from Harvard. So his name is Jack Schlossberg, okay, if you didn't know. Next thing I want to talk about is how long we've been on. We're on 45 minutes. I'm not going to read this one. I'm just going to show you. I printed this one off the Epoch Times, right? And it was how the Jack Smith special counsel used and wielded its influence to prevent the DOJ and FBI from investigating Hillary Clinton and her stuff with Fusion GPS. All right. So if you want to take a look at it, it's on the, wait a minute, no, it's not on Epoch Times, I'm sorry. This is on justthenews.com under /government /courts-law, and you'll see it in there. But it looked like the DOJ and the FBI wanted to look into stuff with the Hillary Clinton campaign with Fusion GPS, and they ran interference to keep it from happening. All right, more dirty politics. Just more dirty politics. Let's see. I'm getting there. Chip Roy, and I got this from the Texas Scorecard. Chip Roy is proposing through legislation in the House. I mean, I showed you a picture of him saying he's not going to run for re-election because he's running for Attorney General here in Texas. He is introducing legislation to freeze all immigration inside the United States. I'll read what they wrote down on there. U.S. Chip Roy is introducing legislation that would freeze all immigration into the United States until certain criteria are met, including reforms to chain migration and birthright citizenship and ending H-1B visas. In announcing his proposal, Chip Roy said that the nation's record-high foreign-born population is creating a cultural problem about who we are as Americans. His measure would require vetting people for their adherence to Sharia law. That is, I mean, okay, the next, he wants to revisit Pyler versus Roe from a court case in 1982. Now, he said that about Sharia law. And the other article I want to read is, up in Collin County, just northeast of Dallas, there's a community up there right next to McKinney, and they're trying to build an Islamic city up there. It's called Epic. It's been in the news a little bit here and there and stuff, but they are going to rebrand Epic City as the Meadow. All right? A proposed Islamic focused development in North Texas may be moving forward soon under a new name, according to local officials, despite past claims from the governor that the project has been halted. It probably did get halted, and they adjusted a few things, including the name, that tried to sneak it under the radar. The controversial Muslim community known as Epic City is planned for property located in unincorporated areas of Collin and Hunt counties. It now appears that the developers are preparing very soon to submit their plans for review, but with the new name, the Meadow. After the Islamic project was first revealed, state and federal agencies opened investigations. So far, most of it failed to find legal reasons to block the planned Islamic community. Maybe we need to make some changes in the state legislature to prevent a religious community like that from being founded in the first place. Because they're probably going to make it happen under the auspices of an HOA to keep everybody out of it and stuff. And we probably need it. I met, and I'm going to show you a picture in just a minute, Pete Flores. I met him last night. He was at one of my functions that I do with the Coppers Cove Conservative Club. Maybe I should have asked him that. That would have been a really, really good question to ask. And so last night, like I was saying, I met with Senator Pete Flores. He's our senator from Senate District 24 here in the state of Texas. He ate dinner with us and then gave us a briefing. And back there is Christy Stroffus. She's a city councilwoman in Coppers Cove. But he talked to us for a good hour and gave us a rundown about politics, what it means to be conservative, and some of his accomplishments in the recent legislative sessions, because we had several special sessions because the Democrats wanted to go on vacation to Chicago and D.C. But we had a really, really good time yesterday, and I would like to say thank you. I don't know if he listens to the podcast, but thank you for coming out and spending some time with us. Our next meeting is going to be December 9th. I took a quick poll, everyone there, give them the option where we're going to meet in January and meet in December, and everyone said they wanted to meet in December. So that's cool. So next one is, so the Justice Department announced today, which was today, that it filed legal action against Governor Gavin Newsom and Secretary of State Shirley Weber for the state of California's newly adopted redistricting plan enacted with the passage of Proposition 50. The suit alleges that the plan mandates racially gerrymandered congressional districts in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Prop 50 amends the Constitution of California, allowing the legislature to draw a new congressional district map. According to substantial evidence, including that in the legislative record and public statements, indicate that the legislature had created a new map in which Latino demographics and racial considerations predominated, in violation of the Equal Protection Clause. California's redistricting scheme is a brazen power grab that tramples the civil rights and mocks the democratic process, Attorney General Pam Bondi said. Governor Newsom's attempt to entrench one-party rule and silence millions of Californians will not stand. Race cannot be used as a proxy to advance political interests, but that is precisely what the California General Assembly did with Prop 50, Jesus Osute said. Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Californians were sold an illegal, racially gerrymandered map, but the U.S. Constitution prohibits its use in 2026 and beyond. The race-based gerrymandered maps passed by the California legislature are unlawful and unconstitutional, said First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Elisi of the Central District of California. The U.S. Department of Justice is moving swiftly to prevent these illegal maps from tainting our upcoming elections. California is free to draw congressional maps, but they may not be drawn based on race. The department's motion to interfere with Tingipa Newsom is pending before a U.S. District Court in the Central District of California. Assistant Attorney General Harmet Dillon has been recused from the case. Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Jesus Osete will represent the department on this matter. So it's not over with in California. They think it's over with, but it's not, right? Because they think they could circumvent the will of the people of the state of California. If you didn't know, they when the ballot measure, I wish I had the ballot measure in front of me, was so deceptive. You really didn't know what you were voting on when you voted on it, right? So it's going to work its way through. We did ours legally here in Texas. We did it the right way. We took it away from being race-based, like the Supreme Court says we can't have anymore. So our stuff is right. It's correct. All right. In Virginia, man, I'm at 56 minutes. Wow. In Virginia, they had there's a nonpartisan group calling for an investigation on Abigail Spanberger because she said she had a political rally at IC Norcom High School free of charge during her campaign. So they and it's a state law that if you are a public official, you can't use facilities free of charge. It's under Virginia law 18.2-112.1b, right? And if it's over $1,000, it's considered a felony. So their new almost governor, she got to wait to get inaugurated, she may have more problems than she actually thinks she does. So, wow. I got this on Fox News a little while ago. There's a picture of her with Barack Hussein Obama. Wow. I bet he's happy she got elected. All right. So that's what I got for the day. Tomorrow, hope everybody has a great weekend. Tomorrow I'm going to do some Operation Christmas Child at our church to send shoebox presents to kids overseas. And then West Side Conservative Coalition, they got a meet and greet for candidates for office because we're in the middle of the filing season. And that's from 8 November to 8 December. So I'm going to go out and meet some of the candidates tomorrow evening. So if y'all want to find me on my socials, I'm on X at James Pierce Jr., Facebook at James A. Pierce Jr., I'm on the JP8 report at gmail.com. Remember, I'm on YouTube at the JP8 report 67. Please go there and subscribe. And right now, if you have not clicked follow or clicked the like button, please do so at this time so we can continue to build onto our viewership of the JP8 report. All right. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great weekend. All right. I think I've got pretty much everything. I keep wanting to look over my shoulder, but they I don't have that on the news, so I have no idea what's going on out there in the world. Okay, so I hope everybody has a great weekend. Okay, so this is James Pierce with the JPA report. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out.